Over the last 2 decades, the influence of Eastern cinema has resulted in a flood of highly choreographed and spectacularly brutal fight scenes, while the influence of sci-fi, fantasy, and comic books has pushed the genre's boundaries, making it more inclusive than ever before. Keep an eye out as we go through some of the best action movies. Keep an eye out. Number 20. Baby Driver. Edgar Wright is a difficult director to categorize, proving himself equally adept at comedy as he is at comic book adaptations and documentaries. Even though he never finished his work on Ant-Man, his distinct style can still be found in Marvel's latest series. Wright handles action, specifically car chases, with equal aplomb in Baby Driver. It's arguably a musical about car chases, is a horse-powered ballet with a sassy contemporary soundtrack, is a natural extension of that trend. Inspired by Wright's own Mint Royale music video from 15 years ago. Number 19. Logan. The plot of James Mangold's X-Men entry revolves around a novel idea, a comic book movie aimed at adults. Life has gotten the best of Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, in a dystopian 2029, and he has become a drunken limo driver filled with self-loathing. What makes the film remarkable is how Mangold has imbued each action set piece with his emotionally rich character study. Wolverine's knives pierce human flesh when provoked, serving as both a cathartic outlet for his rage and a painful reminder of the blood he'll never wash from his hands. Logan's desire to vanish is complicated by his promise to deliver an 11-year-old mutant, Daphne Keene, to safety. Number 18. Battle Royale. Before the Hunger Games, there was a Japanese story about a group of high school students who were chosen by the government to compete in an annual game in which they had to fight each other to the death until only one remained. As the film refuses to pull back and add a larger context, the first 30 to 40 minutes of the students going from silly kids on a field trip to becoming killers feels like delirium. The other two significant differences between Hunger Games and Battle Royale are the brutal, frenetic portrayal of youthful violence and a sense of self-awareness, which when combined create a distinct thin layer of black humor. Number 17. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This Lord and Miller produced, though directorial credit goes to Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. Multi-universe panning Spidey adventure, like The Incredibles, understands how to use animation to bring superhero action to life. The visuals will take your breath away, the set pieces are fantastic, and there's genuine heart and humor to back it all up. Number 16. Hannah. You know Saoirse Ronan can do drama if you've seen Brooklyn, Lady Bird, or Little Women. But before all of that, she proved herself to be an assassin, thanks to this unexpected turn from Joe Wright. Surprising, mostly because he'd been known for his manners rather than his machine guns. They both do an excellent job on this, blending character work with fast-paced fight scenes. Number 15. Speed. Speed, which combines action thriller and disaster movie tropes in the same way that Die Hard did before it, can basically be described in terms of its set pieces: the lift, the bus, and the train. Of course, the middle section is the most important. Keanu Reeves is on a bus with a bomb on it, which will explode and kill all of its passengers if the speed drops below 50 miles per hour. Dennis Hopper plays the irritated bad guy on the phone, giving orders, and Sandra Bullock, reluctantly but fortunately, takes the wheel. Number 14. Upgrade. A man who is afraid of technology is confronted by goons. A man who is afraid of technology is beaten nearly to death. Technophobe Man is outfitted with cutting-edge technology in the form of a super smart chip in his neck. Technophobe Man creates a lot of bleeding edges for goons and others. Lee Wannell's throwback pulp actioner is unafraid to fully embrace its pulp, low-budget roots, getting the most bang, crash, and wallop for its buck. Number 13. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. With its human sacrifice, child enslavement, and Indy being possessed by the dark side, the modern trend of making sequels darker owes a debt to this blood-soaked effort. It actually takes place before Raiders of the Lost Ark, which means the repeated gun sword gag doesn't actually make chronological sense, and sees Indy in India, attempting to obtain sacred stones from an evil Thuggee cult in order to save a beleaguered village. While the original trilogy's bookends are funnier, this one sticks with you longer, albeit in nightmares. Number 12. Mad Max 2. The original Mad Max had its share of thrilling car chases, but nothing prepared audiences for what was to come. The plot is straightforward. Mel Gibson's Max is recruited to assist a besieged community in escaping the marauders outside. But it's the crazy world and character development, vehicle design, and pedal-to-the-metal action that matters, unstoppable forward momentum, and a focused, blistering vision. Number 11. Brawl in Cell Block 99. S. Craig Zahler is quickly establishing a reputation for brutal, knowing action, whether in his gory Western Bone Tomahawk or this, in which Vince Vaughn dish out more injuries than a forced viewing of Couples Retreat. Zahler avoids fast cuts in the fight scenes, preferring to position his camera and let his actors do their thing. And in what way? Number 10. Face Off. Face Off is the pinnacle of John Woo's Hollywood career, with all the slow-mo action gunplay and dubs you'd expect. The plot? A cop and a gangster swap faces and leaves over the course of a long game of cat and mouse is high concept to the point of absurdity. But what makes it work are Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, who play not only their respective characters but also each other. Travolta has the most fun, letting loose as one of Cage's wacky bad guys. After some craziness at the start, Cage has to rein it in a little to play Travolta. It was most likely for the best. Number 9. Hell Drivers. British grit from 1957, with a rambunctious crew of hard men competing to drive dangerous loads as quickly as possible along dangerous roads. It all takes place in realistically depressing settings, and the chase sequences, particularly the final one, are thrilling thanks to the direction of blacklisted Hollywood exile Cy Enfield. To modern eyes, the cast is extraordinary, led by Stanley Baker and stacked with British tough guys who would go on to greater fame. Number 8. On Back. The title refers to the Buddha statue whose head was sawn off by the minions of an evil businessman in a shocking act of vandalism. Tony Jaa, the show's main attraction and fight choreographer, is tasked with retrieving it, a mission he undertakes in punishingly brutal fashion. Number 7. Kung Fu Hustle. Stephen Chow cemented himself as a potential successor to Jackie Chan with this and Shaolin Soccer, blending loose-limbed fight scenes with firm comic timing. Hustle discovers him as Sane, a would-be gangster who gets into trouble with the Axe Gang. Then there are the tenants of a nearby tenement who are masters of martial arts. Number 6. Mission Impossible – Fallout. Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise's collaboration on the MI films blossomed into the most successful entry yet in 2018. It's packed with the action that Cruise has become known for, especially in this franchise, literally throwing himself into danger in search of the best action moments. Number 5. The Adventures of Robin Hood. In the service of Claude Rains' waspish King John, Errol Flynn's green-hosed merry man takes on the dastardly might of Basil Rathbone's Guy of Gisborne. It's a thoroughly enjoyable romp, but there's a steel to Flynn's flashing blade that he frequently overlooks. Number 4. John Wick. The setup? They killed his dog, and now he's insane, borders on parody, and the plot? Gunman steadily works his way up the opposition's organizational chain. Is as trite as it gets. Nonetheless, John Wick was an instant classic, kicking off a series that is still growing in popularity. It's partly due to the self-aware humor, partly due to Keanu's sheer cool and charisma, and partly due to the brio of the action sequences, which are raid-like in their single-minded, bloodthirsty focus. Number 3. The Rock. Glossy Michael Bay action from a time when that meant more than Transformers. This is only his second film, following the original Bad Boys, but it's a confident, swaggering slice of macho action, a men on a mission yarn about an ex-con breaking back into Alcatraz to face hostage-taker Ed Harris. Sean Connery, exuding monstrous star power, plays the irritated former agent, almost old Bond, Alan the Prisoner's number 6, who is coerced back into action. Number 2. Goldfinger. The third James Bond film and possibly the most iconic. Connery's Bond is at his most endearing and lethal, and he's not yet the witty cartoon he'll become. Connery remains invested in the material. There's a great, megalomaniacal villain with a ridiculous scheme. And there's the Aston Martin DB5 with modifications, ushering in an era of escalating Q-branch nonsense. Number 1. The General. When it was first released in 1926, it was met with apathy from moviegoers and a chorus of scorn from critics. With that old loco down a gorge, an old stone face shackled to MGM and creatively stymied, the Civil War adventure left Keaton physically bruised and financially battered. The General, on the other hand, has earned the well-deserved title of silent masterpiece. Subscribe to our channel